This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Okay, well, welcome to the altar of BARD on our Sunday morning ritual, which has really gotten quite some traction. Wouldn't you agree, Gary?
Yeah, it's wild how this turned into something that you and I were kind of doing as a lark, and now it's something people depend on.
Yeah. So, and speaking of which, I think on Friday we were talking about the speakership battle, and ironically, it did end as we had kind of speculated on the second anniversary of January 6th. But there's still a lot of chatter, especially in the Twitter sphere, on the Idaho horrific crimes of the 4 murders in Idaho, and I thought we'd do a little bit of a deeper dive on the affidavit, because it seems like there's a lot of misinformation out there, and also that there's a lot of Twitter sleuths who
it's wild. It's wild to me how certain cases just catch the imagination of the internet, but then the internet decides not to read the available documents and just starts riffing on their own ideas based off of stuff that's on Reddit posted by other internet sleuths. It's read the material that's available and then go nuts.
It's a 19-page affidavit, by the way. I mean, I've seen affidavits that are hundreds of pages. I've got one right now in the office, and I can understand where you don't have the free time to do it. But the 19 pages doesn't take that long. And by the way, I would take issue with the people who say, well, this is only the tip of the iceberg of what they have. No, I think you're wrong on that. I think that the people, I would be somewhat complimentary, I suppose, of law enforcement, because there is so much that they had to do, and you can see that in the 19 pages, but by no means is it conclusive. And I will tell you, I guarantee you what the defense, and by the way, the defense is in very able hands. The public defender and their experts so far, they're both impressive. But what they're doing is they are taking that affidavit and they're picking apart. Gary, if you put it up there for a second, I'll show you what I mean. And I'm going to put my glasses on so I can actually read it. But the first thing that the defense is doing, or one of their primary things, is they're constructing a timeline, because they want to, which is exactly what law enforcement has done. You want to take a look at, see what the timeline is. And then if you're the defense, you want to go in and see where their problems are. Well, first of all, they're trying to narrow down when is the window of the crime. And clearly, they're saying they're both, DM and BF had both made statements indicating the occupants were all home at 2:00 and asleep, or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. 4 a.m. is critical for a number of reasons. And they then talk about, I believe it's pronounced Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. And they have interviewed the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. That is essential. Now, where I may agree with those who are saying this is just the tip of the iceberg, clearly the DoorDash driver, whether law enforcement is eliminated as a suspect or not, the DoorDash driver has quite a bit of information, because that person at 4 a.m., and they then talk about DM said she went to sleep in her bedroom in the southeast side and was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she said sounded like the other person playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms. They then heard what they thought was there's someone here. Now, the defense is going to say, well, of course there's someone here because there's DoorDash, right?
Right.
DoorDash is a review of the records from the forensic download. Now, mind you, they'll have a phone. They take the phone, they image it. Then they're going to be able, once they image the phone, they'll be able to show that she was on, or the Kernodle was on the cell phone, likely awake and using the app at 4:12 a.m. What that does for you, if you've got that DoorDash person coming in, delivering, leaving, and then maybe checking in with DoorDash or using the app, that's how that's one of the things the defense is going to do a dive on, and law enforcement has either in their minds eliminated or not. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then DM looks out of her bedroom door, did not see anything but a comment about someone being in the house. Now, from the defense standpoint, they're going to say, well, how do you pin that down? Do you know if it's before 412 or after 412? Wouldn't it make more sense if it was before 412? Because why would you be on the TikTok app, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then stated she opened the door, DM stated she opened the door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. Now, that's obviously a key fact. And DM then said she heard a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That's also a key fact. And 417, the security camera. Now, mind you, we're at 412 on the TikTok video, correct?
Right. Correct.
417, you've got a security camera immediately to the northwest, picking up a distorted audio of what looks like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud and the dog barking. That, if people remember the plaintiff wail, maybe they won't, but that was a key timeline feature in the OJ case of the dog wailing. Here you've got it at 417. Security camera is less than 50 feet, presumably can pick it up. That really kind of narrows, arguably, that the range from between when you nail down which is not in the affidavit, when did the DoorDash driver leave? Did he see anybody? Did he see the white Elantra supposedly there? What kind of a car was he driving? There's all kinds of questions there.
Right.
Then the door is open the third time. We haven't pinned down a time there, but it's interesting that they've got the 417. So the defense is looking at, was that door open before or after? And what does the interview state? One of the other things I'll agree with those internet sleuths who are talking about it. Law enforcement obviously has the interviews. They've tried to figure that all out, and they probably got some statements. Now, the DM did not state she recognized the male. Okay. Now, obviously, the DoorDash driver, if it's a male, is going to come into play. They're going to want to have a picture there. They're going to want to see what this DoorDash driver looks like. Was the DoorDash driver wearing a mask? Those are all questions the defense and the private investigator are going to be asking. Now, if you go down even more, they've got it. The combination of DM, that first paragraph, Gary, you just went by. The combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of the forensic downloads from both BF, which we don't have a lot of information on, and DM's phone, in a video of a suspect video as described below, leads them to believe it happened between 4 a.m. and 4:25. I think that's probably accurate. During the processing, they find the latent shoe print. This was located on where they think on the outside door of the bedroom, and it's consistent with the path of travel. It's interesting, but I don't know that it's that they've done enough on that yet, and they're going to have to figure out. Now, if you take that down for a second, I don't want to. As you can see, that timeline is going to be vitally important for how you can reconstruct this. I think, and there hasn't been, I've done kind of a little bit of a survey of it. The DoorDash driver to me is going to be job one for the defense in the non-forensic arena. Now, remind you, there's several buckets here. There's going to be all of the circumstantial evidence that follows the forensics, which is the cell phone bucket, the DNA evidence, and the triangulation of the cell phone, and the videos of the cars, and putting that together. That's one bucket. But the DoorDash driver, to me, is going to become something that is going to be very important. And I think I would agree with those who say not everything is in the affidavit. There's quite a bit, I'm sure, that's surrounding that.
Yeah. Does it speak to you that there is so little about the DoorDash driver here? I mean, there's really no information about the DoorDash driver, what kind of a vehicle they were driving, whether they were male or female, presumably male at 4 a.m., but who knows,
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that would be the assumption, I suppose, of guys like us. But you don't know. In a college town, could just be somebody who's wanting to make some money.
Or it could be a couple. I've seen that a lot in college towns where the guy will drive and then his girlfriend will jump out and run up to the door and drop it off and get back in, and they'll go on the next run. Stuff like that. So maybe there's another witness in that vehicle as well.
So which then begs the question of, if this was stranger, if the suspect is unknown to the people in the house, then the defense is also going to be doing quite a bit to determine how in the world this person would know how to get into one particular bedroom, why DM was not confronted if this person was on a serial killing spree, which obviously they were, because you've got 4 deaths, and why DM was spared. Then the next question is going to be, and I'm sure the defense is plumbing this as well, why didn't DM and the cops, I think, in the affidavit betray the fact that they themselves had this very same question. Why didn't you call 911? Why do I say that? Because there's a portion of the affidavit where they describe, if you put it up there, Gary, I don't know if you can find it, frozen state of shock or something along those lines. Did you see that? I think that what you're going to find is that they themselves needed or wanted or were asking the question.
So his first graph here.
Yeah, there you go. Frozen shock. She stood in a frozen shock phase, because if I'm not mistaken, it was at least another 5 or 6 hours or longer before 911 was called.
Yes, I believe that's true. I don't have that pulled up right here, but yes, it's it states that she was in a frozen shock phase, and then she locked herself in her room after seeing the mail.
Right.
Yeah.
And did not state she recognized the male, which is interesting, and that leads them to believe that the murderer left the scene. That's kind of that can be taken a couple of different ways. I think maybe on Tuesday we'll do a deeper dive into the technique that was used on the surveillance footage and the problems there. As I've already pointed out, originally when they went to the FBI, I believe they said that the Elantra, based on looking at the photos and the screen grabs, was a 2010 or 2011 to a 2013.
Yeah.
Turns out that the suspect, the accused Elantra, is a 2015, I believe, and the FBI had apparently changed their opinion. Yeah, they revised it once he got it. The defense is going to be all over that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that will be a fun dive to take with Adam, because we haven't gotten a lot of his thoughts on this case yet, at least not the nitty gritty. And he loves to, he always has interesting questions to pick your brain. As a former federal prosecutor, he's uniquely qualified.
I love it. And he's a car guy, so we'll use him as an expert.
He's going to be disgusted by the Elantra. It's just not his kind of car. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time on a Sunday. We appreciate it.
You got it, Gary. Have fun today.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.